Who saw Tucker and Darryl Cooper's interview last week? Last week.
I didn't see it.
I feel like if I raise my hand, it should
You'll
be.
get in trouble.
Yes, in the way that this story was covered. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Brent.
No, I meant like. Oh, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
So, did anybody see it?
I watched parts of it.
I saw a
Okay,
clip.
saw parts of it. Did not see it. Humberto, did you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
I sent it to you.
I know.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
rhetorical question. The
right.
audience doesn't know that you sent it to me. Rob, you saw parts of it, or you're holding out?
I stole clips.
Okay, so here's a clip that gives like the overarching theme of what the interview was
And who
about.
is this guy, Brent? Who is
So
this guy?
this guy's name is Darryl Cooper. He's a historian, and he puts a shit ton of research into everything he does. Like he made like this 30-hour podcast about the history of Israel and Palestine when after October 7th happened. So
he's smart as hell.
yeah, I mean,
okay.
And also clearly not afraid to touch the hot button issues.
Okay, good.
Which becomes relevant.
because
Yeah,
just like current events, history is reported through a certain lens.
Of course it is.
It likes to stick to that lens. So he looks at it in a deeper level and says outside the lens type of thing.
All right, so this is him talking about Winston Churchill?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
How would you assess Winston Churchill?
I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. I read about Churchill, and he strikes me as a psychopath. When you really get into it and tell the story, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland.
Make the case for that. Okay, so you've made your statement. A lot of people are thinking, well, wait a second. You just said Churchill, my childhood hero, the guy with the cigar.
Yeah. You know, if you go to 1939, when the Germans and the Soviet Union invade Poland, as soon as that war's wrapped up on the German side, Hitler starts firing off peace proposals to Britain and France because they had already declared war. He didn't expect them to declare war, actually. Like there's a famous scene where he kind of throws a fit when he finds out that they did do that. And so he doesn't want to fight France. He doesn't want to fight Britain. He feels that's going to weaken Europe when we've got this huge threat to the east, the communist threat over there.
All right, so the mainstream media reacted this way to it. You know, there's a flurry of articles saying, like, Tucker Carlson, Nazi propaganda. Tucker Carlson criticized for Holocaust revisionist. Tucker Carlson is soft on Nazis. Elon Musk deletes post promoting Tucker Carlson video following backlash. What's up?
Did he say second chief or the chief villain?
Chief.
The chief.
Like the number one.
So more than
Hitler.
Hitler, who murdered 6 million Jews in the concentration camps. He thinks.
Yes. And
Why do you guys make faces when I say that?
No, I'm just saying.
No,
I'm just saying, like, because mind you, all I know of Winston Churchill is from history, from high school, from the movie that we saw where Gary Oldman played him. Those are good, but like this guy, like this type of guy as a historian, these people dig. I'm not talking about the comparison because I haven't seen the whole thing. But this guy, that's his whole life is researching shit like this. So he's going into in-depth shit on who Churchill really is.
Yeah, and so I'm going to take a different angle than you guys are probably expecting on this because, it's not the whole comparison of who was worse in World War II. The whole point of this is that World War II probably would not have even happened if it wasn't for Winston Churchill.
How?
So World War I happens, and it's kind of like a stalemate, and Winston Churchill desperately wants to get America involved in World War I so that they could defeat Germany, right? So he ends up doing the first 9/11 style false flag in modern history.
Churchill.
To get America into World War I. So like
Pull the room real quick. Do you guys know
right.
what it is he's talking about?
No.
What got America into World War I?
Well, I thought the assassination of the arch.
That's what got the rest of
started.
Europe. Yeah.
That's
World
what kicked
War
it off.
Yep.
What was a real one?
Yeah, so
I don't know.
You ever hear of the Lusitania sinking?
Of course.
Oh, yes.
Right, so that was a British passenger ship that was sunk by a German U-boat, and it was the ammunition that Winston Churchill and Woodrow Wilson used to get the American public outraged, brought us into World War II or World War I, right? So it wasn't just a random attack; it was actually something that Winston Churchill set up. So he was the Lord of the Navy at the time in England, and he ordered all British ships to stop flying their flag. He led them. He pulled away the protection for this ship, and he had them go through an area that he knew German U-boats are going to be, and he didn't notify the captain that they were going to be German U-boats in that area.
These are all facts.
Yeah, all facts. So it was so bad that the German embassy in the United States put out this letter in the New York Times warning the American public, don't board this ship because Winston Churchill is pulling this bullshit where he's trying to incite violence. So
Oh shit.
they asked the president to put this in as many newspapers as possible, but they suppressed it into all but like 4 newspapers the day before the thing happened. So it said, notice, travelers intending to embark on the Atlantic voyage are reminded that a state of war exists between Germany and their allies and Great Britain and their allies, and that the zone war includes the waters adjacent to the British Isles. So, it goes on to say, don't board the Lusitania because this is going to be a risky situation. You might get hit by a German U-boat if this happens. So he made it more difficult for these boats to be identified by the German submarines because he told them stop flying the flag. And the captain of this boat even resigned because it was built in a way where it could be a passenger ship and a military ship at the same time. Like, it was kind of a hybrid. So the guy's like, screw this. I'm not going to be the captain of the ship anymore. You guys are playing with fire because you're moving military supplies at the same time you're moving people. So this ship had bullets, all these explosives and stuff on it in the bottom, and then passengers at the top. And this is proven because a deep dive team who went down the water, looked at this thing, saw blasts from the inside that caused the second blast in this thing. So it gets hit, then shit explodes when it hits the inside.
Wow.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well,
Connor.
the German submarine captain who sank it, the crew even testified later that the explosion from when the torpedo hit was not like just an engine detonating in an explosion. It was like a bunch of bombs going off in a fire. Like, if you drop a bunch of bullets into a fire, they'll eventually start popping and zipping off because they're heating up. That's how the Lusitania exploded. And the Allies were 100%, it's now a confirmed fact, transporting military equipment on civilian transport vessels. And they kept sending them into U-boat infested waters, just waiting for one to get sunk.
And
And the one that got sunk was one of the few that had Americans on it.
Yeah, and he even told the captain of the boat, hey, we're trying to conserve coal, so go only 75% of your speed capacity through this route.
So they slowed it down.
They
Yeah.
slowed it down.
And took away its protection. Churchill's watching the entire time and just chartered in there like a lamb into a slaughterhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, and then they got what they wanted. Then right after that,
So then
America
that
goes into
kicks
World War
off
One.
World War One because of
And
that.
yeah, and then boom, the Allies beat Germany because America gets involved. That puts them over the edge. The opposite of that, if they didn't get involved, would probably be a stalemate. But since America gets involved, we get the leverage in Germany, and we bend them over with the Treaty of Versailles. We make them pay more in war reparations than their entire GDP is worth. So German hyperinflation happens, and then what that creates civil unrest, and that creates the opportunity for a crazy dictator to come along and say, like, hey, I know how to fix this. Vote me in. I'll fix this shit. So Hitler comes along, capitalizes on people's outrage, and then World War II happens. So
So if you guys are staying fact, and Winston Churchill did that just to get us involved to get to where we're at, then that's not a good look. Umberto, what do you?
And for what? For what?
Well, I mean, that's
No. England is cooked. like they won
Yeah.
World War II, and now they're losing their country.
But you're
Yes,
assuming
they-
this wasn't the plan to begin with.
So the original reason for World War I, a lot of people argue, is that Germany was rapidly industrializing. They were more technologically advanced than England. And England was the powerhouse at the time. So England wanted to provoke a war between Germany and its rivals to slow down its economic progress.
So how did this make him the chief villain of World War II?
So he makes the argument for World War II that Hitler was going to stop after Poland, but that Churchill wanted to, same thing, decimate Germany even more. So he was trying to provoke Hitler to go even further in order to provoke U.S. and Russia into getting involved. So he's saying he's arguing that Hitler was trying to undo the Treaty of Versailles, and that Churchill wanted to decimate Germany. So Churchill is the one who created the circumstances to make it this big war.
Yeah, so here's where because like I said, I watched portions of this. I didn't have time to sit down and watch the whole Tucker interview. What was the guy's name? Cooper?
Darryl Cooper.
Yeah, Darryl Cooper. So part of where I disagree, and I think where a lot of reasonable people can say, is like to call Winston Churchill the chief villain of World War II and say, the whole thing was his fault. It's a little bit off because Hitler was pretty bad. I feel like that's not a controversial
think?
statement.
Okay,
to
I
make.
just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we can all
We can all agree
on that, right?
Well, like I said, I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that
Yeah.
angle. I agree with what he's saying. I'm making the case that
Didn't you say it? Didn't
Yes.
you say Hitler was a bad
Yeah,
guy?
of course he's a bad guy.
Okay.
Why are you acting like I'm not saying that?
But back to
I know, because if you don't say it and you say everything else, then people assume that you wouldn't say it.
Yeah, back
so
to-
that's the
Don't-
reason why I wanted you to say it,
No, of
so we
course.
can all sit here and agree
Yeah.
the Holocaust happened
Yeah.
and Hitler's a bad dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
on Cooper's point though.
Humberto's oddly quiet.
I'm just,
He's just not interrupting.
I'm just trying to keep off this topic. Like, but it is what
But
it
you
is.
guys have to understand
Yeah.
when you talk about these topics and then you don't discuss this part, people act like you're ignoring that part.
Yeah, this
which
is
is
what
why I bring it up.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
I'm saying we don't have a Hitler if it's not for Churchill and for what the British did to manipulate everybody into war.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah,
I
but yes,
understand. I'm
yes,
explaining
Hitler was
why
bad.
I'm asking
Like-
you guys this,
like-
so you guys can't be like, oh, let's go to HR and try and get robbed.
No.
Holocaust
because he
No,
makes a
I
great.
think Hitler's the most evil one in there, but I think Churchill
okay.
created that.
No, of course. I mean, dude, anybody that has that mustache, period. But
except for Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan did it in a Hanes commercial, right? And then obviously, from what I heard rumors that Hitler loved Chaplin so much, Charlie Chaplin, that he basically took that from him.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm that serious.
Which is
He
what
was
gay people
a
do.
huge fan of him. But
Have you ever seen him dressed with the short shorts? Remember when they
Yep.
did it?
Yeah.
There was that photo of him in the woods with the really questionably short
But
shorts.
you know what? Obviously, Hitler was a main evil guy. That's what
was
the
a main
story
evil
tells-
guy.
Yeah. But I think it's an overstatement to say that Churchill was a main evil guy.
No, but
It
I-
is an overstatement.
But mind you, because I'm learning. I learned.
now,
Go ahead.
who gets away with murder? Literally murder. A lot of murder. The most murder is Stalin. Okay,
Yeah, of course.
I think the story is kind of right when it comes to the whole thing, but I think the overseeing of what Stalin did, and the amount of dead people, he killed more people than Hitler, and nobody mentioned this. And Mao Zedong,
Mao, forget it.
forget about the amount of people he killed. But can you imagine? I heard yesterday they have a statue of Lenin in Portland, Oregon. They have a statue of Lenin.
Of course
What
it would be
are
in
we
Portland.
doing?
Of course.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm against all mass murders. All
Yeah,
mass
all-
murders.
But on Cooper's point, the thing he's talking about where Hitler kept trying to launch peace agreements, I believe that document was called an appeal to reason. And it's questionable as to whether he actually meant it or if it was a diversionary tactic to try to, get the government to keep doing the appeasement policies of letting him take whatever he wanted. And he's like, no, we're not trying to go to war with Europe. And it's question as to whether that's true or not. But like Humberto was saying, there's so many other historical mass murderers who get away with it, especially the ones around World War II, because Hitler tends to hog the spotlight, and with good reason. Yeah, I think we can all agree. Like you
Yeah,
said,
with
we've all
good
established bad guy, not the only bad guy.
No.
Because on the Churchill point, there was an attempt to ethnically cleanse Germany of all Germans during and after the war. The Allies pulled off
Which war?
World War II.
Okay.
They tried basically to eradicate the German people as punishment for you've done 2 world wars. That was your fault. We're going to get rid of you. The firebombing of Dresden is one of the worst atrocities committed during the war that nobody pays attention to. It's not on the same scale as some of the stuff that happened in Russia and the Holocaust itself, but the Allies basically herded the German people into the city of Dresden, filled it with refugees, and then firebombed it for days at a time until it was just nothing but rubble and scorched corpses out in the street. It was an atrocity, and people like Churchill get away with it because you're doing it to fight the Nazis. So that's why things like Cooper, even if he's saying the wrong thing, sort of put it in a proper context.
And going back to his point, yes, Hitler, horrible, bad. If he not good at all, obviously all around. But what Brandon, the point that you're trying to make is, Churchill basically staged a 9/11 type thing to start this war that created Hitler.
To start the First War.
First World War.
Which the terms of agreement at the end of the First World War, since Germany was so beaten down, they were put in a terrible financial position. They had hyperinflation, which created the momentum for an evil dictator to come along. So if Germany's not put in that position of having to pay more than its GDP puts out per year, then they don't have hyperinflation, and then Hitler doesn't have the circumstances to take over the country. So, but the reason this is important though is because World War II precedent set the standards for how we deal with all international conflicts afterwards. So every time we have a war going on, it's like oh yeah. Putin could be the next Hitler, and if we don't deal with it now, then it's going to get worse and worse. So they take the Churchill mentality of having to, go straight into war with a country if a country starts escalating things with a neighbor.
And why are we involved in Ukraine right now? Because they keep telling us that as soon as he's done in Ukraine, Putin is taking Poland.
And guess what?
Where have we heard that before, I wonder?
Yeah.